Okay, so I'm Marat, the host, and this is GM's Toolkit, where every episode will be touching on a theme and how you can use various tools or resources around that theme to make your campaign better, more tools for your toolkit. And with the Stream of Annihilation coming up, the Wizards of the Coast event next week, we are going to be talking about non-standard platforms for running a D&D game, so online or through streaming or running a table of drunk players at PAX, which is why we have Dave here. So
I have done that. It's true.
Yeah, exactly. So joining me today are Sarah, who is an avid Dragon Friends fan, and
Hello.
Dave, Dungeon Master Extraordinaire of Dragon Friends. Now, today's episode for Crossing the Streams, I want to start with a challenge for Dave, if I may.
Sure, go ahead.
Yeah, this will be rough, but as a DM and role player, I think you can overcome. Now, pretend, if you will, that we have viewers, and explain to those viewers who may not be familiar with your work what Dragon Friends is and what you're going to be doing with Dragon Friends at Stream of Annihilation next week.
Sure, and that is entirely possible. It is not beyond the realm of reason to believe that there might be people who don't know of this dumb thing I do with my friends. So, Dragon Friends is a very stupid live show and podcast that we do out of Giant Dwarf Theatre in Sydney, where I take 6 of my longtime friends from comedy, media, and improvisation, and I run them through a Dungeons and Dragons campaign. It's the first time any of them have played, and they're very bad at it. We've been running it for about 2 years now. We're up to season 3 of the podcast. Season 1 was a sort of traditional Swords and Sorcery, Forgotten Realms epic. Season 2, we went into Ravenloft for a bit, and now we're in season 3, and we're doing a kind of William Gibson bastardization of Shadowrun. But we play it all in 5e.
Fantastic. Sarah, do you have any commentary before I totally hog the spotlight with my next question?
Not really. I have like a couple questions, but since we've got like such a short amount of time, I might just sort of interject them if like the topic kind of comes up.
Sure, let's burn through it then. Dave, so the whole point of this show is that I want to get people on to talk about tools that DMs may not be aware of that they can add to their repertoire to spice up their game, and you're basically the spiciest person on the scene right now. I thought we'd bring you on. So what are your main tools that you rely on, because you run in such a non-standard way?
Yeah.
What do you use to get your games going that, aside from the rule books and things like that, what would you really say are your most useful tools?
So I'm really lucky. I've got an advantage that most DMs don't have, which is that I have a schedule where my games have to be played. They're on the second Tuesday of every month, and we would have to pay the theatre quite a bit of money if we didn't show up. So I bet every DM in the world wishes that they had that hanging over the head of their players. It means that everybody shows up on time, ready to do the show. And that makes it a lot easier to plan than it should be. Other than that, I use a lot of basic online tools that DMs would know about. I use Google Docs a lot, particularly because I have 2 co-DMs, which is the strange thing about our show. I have 2 guys, Eden Lacey and Ben Jenkins, who don't do any of the stat game mechanics side of the DMing, but they have a loose idea of the story because they also play all the NPC voices for me. And so I need to always brief them, and I do a lot of that in Google Drive. I also use a couple of other tools. I use the D&D Beyond stuff. There's character generators are always really useful, and there's so many good ones of them you can get online. This is so embarrassing, and I want to open up my bookmark.
Okay, tell us. You have to tell us.
No, it's more that I can't remember the name of it. And look, I apologize if my sponsors my. I'm just going to find out what it is. I use a thing which I've been using for a while and I'm just literally stalling now while I Google it. It's so embarrassing, but it's a really great website.
Do you want us to
which is
embarrass
a sort of
ourselves a bit?
wiki-based D&D writer.
I could do like a little dance or something.
I can show you the shoes that I'm wearing right now. They're these like fluffy slipper things, and they look awful.
Look, we've all got a store. We've all got a store. This is great. You
So,
can cut them out, right?
Wow.
They're
Those are
really
brilliant.
warm though.
What is it called? God, I pay for it and I use it all the time. And for some reason today, I can't remember what it's called.
Jet lag.
Oh.
Blame the jet lag.
But I don't even have jet lag. This is just humiliating.
So you'd say that Ben and Eden are perhaps your biggest tools.
Look, I would say that. That sounds like something I would say.
Which one's bigger, Ben or Eden?
As
a tool.
Eden's a big hairy boy, so I would say it's probably Ben is a small tool, but small tools are sometimes useful for getting into those hard to reach places. So he has that going for him. I cannot remember the name of this. This is really awful. There's another.
Okay.
It's a great tool online for writing D&D adventures. I use a lot, and I can't remember what it's called.
Is it Obsidian Portal?
Yes, it's Obsidian Portal.
There you go.
I'm just going to award myself 100 XP for that because come on.
I couldn't find it. Yeah, I've been using Obsidian Portal for ages because I actually really like the way it encourages you to just keep writing, explain that later.
I have used it myself, and I do enjoy the ability to have that wiki there right within your campaign and have the cross-linking. I've used Obsidian Portal myself for games so that PCs could, between sessions, look up information about people or write comments about each other's characters' butts in the wiki for me to find later.
Yeah, I don't even share it. I don't think any of they're all cretins. I don't think any of them know how to use like any D&D tools.
Are you sure they know how to read?
Look, the facts are still out. I mean, I think you couldn't tell, could you? I mean, they could, look, they're a bunch of liars and misanthropes and horrible drunkards. So
the D&D players.
Yeah, basically. Yeah, if they can read, they're certainly they're reading bad Ayn Rand or something. I hate them all. I really do.
Well, I mean, that's why you keep throwing goblins and things at them and vampires. Like, you wouldn't do that to people you like. That's terrible.
Yeah, no, they're horrible people, and I wish I wasn't doing the show, but here we are, and you can't stop.
I think you might be addicted now.
And now I'm going to Seattle with them, so
hopefully this.
I'm so
they won't
sorry.
see this.
My condolences.
It's funny. We heap a lot of shit on each other, and we're of course very good friends, and but it's just we've been friends for so long, and it's that kind of relationship with people that you met at university, which is where we all met. We were all doing comedy at uni together, and what used to just be in jokes and bullying of each other, which is fine at a bar, now gets played out on a stage regularly in front of people. So it's taken on a new level of animus, I guess. And it's we'll see where it ends. We've been joking for a lot this season that the inevitable end of the Dragon Friends is all of us being murdered by Michael Hing and Benny Davis. And in a kind of beautiful Shia LaBeouf art project way, that might be the only way we can stop doing it, is when they actually commit to that and kill us all on stage.
Either that or like Frieza will have to get taken out before he just murders everyone else.
Oh my God, yeah. We have Michael Hing's one of our characters who is the quintessential psychopath D&D player.
Murder hobo. Straight up murder hobo.
Yeah. But even just, he doesn't kill people that have money or gold. He killed a horse once for no reason in a game.
It was for the temporary hit points.
Yeah, for the temporary hit points. Sort of zapped it with a witch bolt right underneath its rider, who was a friend of theirs, and then just rode away grimly staring at him. So those are the kind of players that I have to deal with.
Okay, so for the purposes of our largely imaginary viewers, your first tip is probably don't have a bunch of crazy people at the table.
Yeah.
Or do. If you want to monetize your pain, have the worst people you know.
Yeah. And if they're the right side of crazy, start a podcast.
Yeah.
And in answer to your other question.
Obsidian Portal.
Oh, I was going to say.
I was just going to say that. Go.
You go.
I wanted to mention that Obsidian Portal, the tool that you mentioned, is quite an excellent tool. And unlike, say, Obsidian Portal or Roll20, which I hear lots of people mention, you don't often hear mention of using co-DMs specifically as a tool to improve your game.
Yeah.
It's something I've tried, and it's a great way, especially to get players who have not DM'd before but are interested in it, to ease them into DMing while taking some work off of your shoulders. So having minions or co-DMs, having minions help you run your game is a great tool both for you and for them.
Totally. And I cheat so much. I've got 2 guys playing the characters, doing the voices, who know a bit about the story. And I also have, we have a bard, which is...
Yes.
We have live music. And even if you can't get live music, because not everyone...
Benny Davis.
Yeah, Benny Davis of the Axis of Awesome. Having music lifts the game so much. I think that and I think this even when I've run games in the past just for myself, if you play D&D and you're asking people to, oh, look, why don't you, it's fun to sometimes speak in character or respond as your character would. It can be really awkward for people to slip into that performance in D&D, which often makes it so good. And having just a bit of epic music underneath is really a useful tool, I think, for taking people out of the everyday and letting them get a bit silly. That and a glass and a half of white wine, or beer or cider or whatever you want.
Okay, so get your players drunk and do as little of the work as possible.
Yes, that's ideally that. Yeah, and then rubbish them on an interview.
Success.
Yeah.
So what are you actually doing at this Stream of Annihilation event, you and the Dragon Friends?
We can't believe we were asked. It's ridiculous. We were doing the Silly podcast in Sydney, and we got Greg Tito, the communications guru at Wizards of the Coast, reached out to us, and it said, "Yeah, would we like to come to Seattle to play Dungeons and Dragons?" Which was not something that we saw on the horizon at all. We've gone to Melbourne 3 times. That's as far as we've ever traveled, and so yeah, it just sort of we sort of followed it along, thinking it would fall over, and it's happened now, and we're playing with Critical Role, Acquisitions Incorporated, C-Team, all of these kind of Chris Perkins, who is my favorite DM, is one of the DMs there. So I really can't wait to meet some of these people. We're hoping that we can make some fun iPhone videos with them and make some content backstage, because there's some real D&D luminaries that are going to be around. It's for 2 days. It's the 2nd and 3rd American time. And in Australia, it's the 3rd and 4th. And it starts at 3 a.m. and goes to 3 p.m. every day. And our game, we're going to be playing a game which will be at, I think it's going to be Sunday 9 a.m. Or maybe Monday 9 a.m. So just get up early.
At some point.
Get up early on Sunday.
Every day, just in case.
Yeah, look at Twitch. It won't be on. Get angry at me. Send me an angry message on Facebook. Go to bed. Get up the next day. Watch it. That would be my suggestion.
Okay, you heard him. Harass Dave.
Yeah, I don't care.
Yeah.
Throw a brick through my window. I want
We need your address for that.
Please don't throw bricks at anyone, just in case I want Dave to come back on the show.
Yeah. Yeah, and so anyway, we're going to do that, and then we're just, we're going to do a whole bunch of extra content, which I think we can talk about. Basically, there's a new product coming out, which this is for, which will be announced at the Stream of Annihilation, and then we're going to be doing Twitch video content in Australia later in the year, where we will be using this new product, and that's very exciting. And we've got to work directly with Greg and Wizards, and they've been sort of priming us for that, which is very exciting.
That does sound brilliant. When you moved onto a Twitch platform, was it difficult to get your game going? I mean, it's not something that most people who are just used to playing around a table would be used to or familiar with. And for those groups out there and for those GMs who want to move to that kind of format, or who have players that are scattered around the country like I do, which is why I've moved to an online platform for my own games. How would you recommend that people ease into from a traditional tabletop platform to like a totally online paradigm like that?
We've only ever done 2 Twitch streams, and they were both at PAX. And that the technology side was done for us. We do a limited sort of digital thing at our live shows because we use like a dice camera, for example. Mm-hmm. But we're used to being audio only, so it'll going to be a big learning experience for us doing, first of all, Seattle, and then starting up our own Twitch streams. That's going to be, like I said, later in the year. So we're still working out how we're going to do that, where we're going to do it. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to actually answering all those questions and working it out. Working out where we're going to put the cameras, working out how we can make a visually interesting Twitch stream. I'm a AV dork, so that stuff interests me.
Well, that sounds like an implied promise to come back here and have another interview once you've actually done that.
Sure, absolutely.
There we are. We've got that on camera. Now, the other...
Someone's going to walk in right now. In which case, we might need to move to a side room. Oh, God damn it. Sorry about this.
It's okay.
Hello?
Fired, Dave. You're fired.
Cool. 1 second.
Rocks fall, Dave dies.
Was this a Dungeons & Dragons game that I wasn't aware of? I'm not wearing, like, the right shirt or anything.
Oh, yeah, like, I forgot to mention, I'm actually sitting here behind a screen.
I'm level 1 again. I hate being level 1.
Sorry about that. I'm in a room in my offices, basically, because I'm still working today, so someone just needed to use the other room.
Right.
That's all right. I mean, you died while you were away. I dropped a rock on your character.
Edit me out kindly in that section, please.
Yep, no, there will be no edit. There's just going to be an empty chair with an edited in sign that said, "Wow, Dave is lame."
Bullying me. You would have made a great dragon friend.
There you go. There you go. I'm trying to make you feel at home by abusing you like the rest of your friends do.
I feel very at home.
The other stream crossing that I wanted to talk about, aside from the actual crossing over to live streams and Twitch, is your decision to use the 5e rule set for essentially kind of a bastardized Shadowrun. You had your players pop out through space and time in New York. How do you find running a completely non-traditional, non-D&D setting like contemporary New York in the 5e rule set? What would you recommend for GMs who are looking to do something totally different like that?
Well, I think that decision was kind of taken out of my hands a little bit, in the sense that...
pretend it was your idea.
Well, no, I mean, basically the fact of the matter is, I mean, Sarah's seen the stream. She would understand that, well, you know how the players at Dragon Friends are reluctant to learn any new rules.
Yep. They're really eager to kill, not so much for anything else. Oh, and shopping. So, they love shopping.
For some reason, they love shopping. And so so basically I wanted to go to Shadowrun, partly because I had just read Neuromancer, and I decided that I was going to do it. But then I realized quite late in the process that I was not going to be able to. I bought the Shadowrun starter set, and I realized I could not teach these rules in time to the Dragon Friends, who are very busy people when they're not doing the show. They're all, some of them are on the checkout. Michael Hing is the OPL host for League of Legends, and it's very hard to get them in the room when we're not doing the show. And Shadowrun
is quite a crunchy system, especially compared to 5e. If you have people who are reluctant to learn a new system, dropping 800% more crunch on them isn't going to get them on side.
Totally, but I'm also a big believer that system doesn't matter as much as some people think that it does. I'm a big board game fan, for example, and I'm someone who homebrews a lot of rules anyway, and I just take mechanics that I like. I really like, for instance, Boons and Setbacks from Edge of the Empire, which is something that I've used in other RPGs just because I think it's a really good system. And so I just did a port, basically. We'd already had some experience in that, Castle Ravenloft in Season 2 was an Advanced Dungeons and Dragons module, so I was already having to do some porting as I went anyway. And yeah, we've kept it pretty loose so far. So, if you're hacking into the mainframe, that might require dexterity and intelligence checks. It might require insight to, successfully negotiate, diplomacy or a bluff to negotiate with a piece of ice. It's obviously not a perfect system, but Dragon Friends is not about perfect systems. It's about things falling over. So making it harder for myself to, on the fly, convert is probably only going to make it a better show, even if it makes me tear my hair out.
But there you go, and that's probably what most GMs are going for. I mean, I'm an incredible pedant who ruins everything with my desire for rule sets, but most people want their game to just be hilarious and terrible in all the right ways. And I mean, showing people that you can take a reasonably simple system like 5e and going way sideways with it is exactly what this show here is about. New options for people to use.
Honestly, I think this is like, and this isn't a funny answer, but it's a true answer. I think that from when I started DMing, I was really bad at it, like hilariously, comically bad. The first time I ever ran a D&D campaign for my friends, they fought 4 goblins, and then they went to an inn, and then they started a bar fight. And then I had to let them go home because it was 5 a.m. in the morning, and they were getting really unhappy with me, and they'd been there for 11 hours.
And that's my house phone.
So unprofessional.
But because I was so slow. I looked things up. I'd stop all the action because I needed to understand a rule better. I'd tell them to go get some food because I had to read something in a module. And I just did so many mistakes. And the best lesson I ever learned about DMing, and I partly learned it from doing Dragon Friends and having to tell a semi-coherent story in an hour, was never open the books once the show starts. Like, do all your research beforehand, be as on top of your game as you can. But if you don't know a rule in the moment, make up a rule and try and be consistent in the future. And if I had a photographic memory and stuff, I would be better at running D&D 5e. But I still think that even when I don't, it's what makes a game have momentum and have energy, is you actually need to the players need to trust that the DM can answer their questions without looking it up, and the DM needs to trust that they're not going to break the game by slightly misunderstanding a rule. And it's very funny in our show because we get heckled when I make mistakes, or more specifically when Michael Hing tries to cheat, and I don't notice straight away. So that's great because they all know the rules better than I do. But it was so important for me in learning how to be a better DM, which was just keep moving. If you really don't know the answers, tell them to roll a d20, and on 11 plus it works, because it's just more important that the story keep moving forward.
That's roughly what all experienced DMs might share, and there's a really good reason for that, is that it is more important to keep that game moving smoothly than to have the correct answer out of the book. And it's great to hear you say that, because your game is so public that people can see you apply this technique and see how well it works, at least until, Hin decides that something needs to go his way a little harder. Yeah. But even then you can see how well it works. And that's, I think, a great thing to share with our imaginary viewers, is the advice and its application.
Because there's a lot of D&D 5e is a beautifully designed system, and there's so many great ways, and so much of the best parts of those books, I think, are hooks of how you might like to think about your character, things about how your backstory interacts, how your alignment might interact, how this world works. But the actual game of D&D is roll a 5 plus if it's easy, a 10 plus if it's moderate, and a 15 plus if it's hard. And you can go back to that rule anytime you're stuck and keep it moving. And
across any setting, because I've I've never even considered trying to run a Shadowrun hack in D&D because its core is so different, and yet here you are into an entire campaign arc, and it's working as well as can be expected.
Sort of.
It's working. It is working, and it is great. It's really entertaining. The few bits of it that I've managed to catch up on and listen to is really an inspiring thing to see the totally unexpected directions you can take a rule set if you just understand the basic design decision rather than getting caught up in the technicalities of the setting.
I'm really sorry because these have been put back to back, but I'm probably going to have to go now. Did you have any other question? Or
I think I've managed to run through everything that I wanted. Sarah?
No, you kind of went over what I was going to ask anyway. There was like a few more things, but we don't have.
Are you sure, Sarah? I feel really bad because you didn't get to ask many questions.
That's okay. It was mostly things like, how did you choose who was going to play with you? But you already said that you guys all met in college. Or university.
I can. There is actually. It's interesting in the sense that originally we weren't all in the game. That is kind of an interesting question. So it started, me and Ben, who did a lot of shows at Giant Dwarf, knew that we wanted to do a show together, but we didn't know what it was going to be yet. And we had separately wanted for a while. Ben knew that I played D&D with some of my other friends and had always said he wanted to play a game. And then we sort of decided to join those two ideas together. Mm-hmm. And we both settled on Michael Hing, Alex Lee, and Simon Greiner as just some of the funniest people we knew from with very different skills and personalities that we thought would make a very funny show. It was, I think, the first meeting of the five of us, when it wasn't even me and Ben's idea. I think Alex said, you know what, this show would make this great is we should get Benny Davis involved. Music would probably help it, which was an amazing idea. And so we got Benny involved. And then actually Eden, who's the last member of our cast, was only meant to be there for a short amount of time. He was going to be a substitute for Ben Jenkins while he was in America. And his character that he plays, Baston, was just one of the first seen NPCs that was completely disposable and never meant to show up again. And we just love Eden so much, and we loved Baston so much that he went from being a one-shot character to a recurring character to a henchman to a fully fledged PC, which now we have to deal with the fact that he doesn't even really have a class. I mean, we always said that he was a level 10 fancy man or handsome man. And so I had to recently build a character sheet for him, and I decided that he was a fighter. But it was difficult at that point to retroactively turn what was essentially an NPC name and personality into a fully fledged character.
You couldn't get rid of him. He was just so funny. He still is so funny.
Yeah,
he's very quotable. I have friends who scream they're the best on and off. And
he's the only dragon friend that has a catchphrase and a musical theme.
He does too.
Yeah.
All right. Look, we won't keep you. Well, I mean, we'd like to, but you have another interview to get to. We will.
No worries.
Thank you very much for coming. So yes, absolutely come back, especially after you do the Stream of Annihilation, and tell us how that went and how you managed with all the new formats and the new products you're taking on. Just a quick recap. So our suggested tools are Obsidian Portal is a fantastic tool. Having backup DMs or co-DMs, people you can share the load with, is a fantastic and rarely used tool.
And just helping you come up with the next part of the story. I mean,
absolutely.
One of my favorite moments was the end of season 2, which was of Dragon Friends, which is a ridiculous sort of finale, almost theatre piece that happens at the top of the tower of Castle Ravenloft. And that was me, Eden, and Ben with a bottle of wine at a Thai restaurant having dinner and just coming up with better and better and better ideas until we were like, that's how it ends. That's absolutely what the last scene needs to be. So, yeah, writing a story collaboratively is really, really fun as well. That's a really great part of having a co-DM.
And because all of role-playing is a collaborative story, and we focus so much on the players collaboratively telling a story, the DM tends to run very much solo.
Yes.
But the DM can absolutely collaboratively create what is going to happen. And when that happens, we get brilliant things like your campaigns. And it's something that GMs out there should really consider, is get a team of GMs together.
Yeah, I agree. Or just work with another DM that you had,
Work with another DM.
If you've got two DMs with two groups of parties, put them in the same universe and sometimes meet up and help each other. Like, it's just a really fun thing way to make what is a solitary role really collaborative.
Excellent. So there we have it. Obsidian Portal, get your players drunk, have minions, and music does wonders. Those are our 4 tips for this episode. Thank you very much, Sarah Roswell and Dave Harmon, for helping me out with our inaugural episode.
Thank you very much.
We will hopefully see you both back on the stream in future, and may all your dice roll 20s.
See ya.
Bye.
Cut.